86% of organizations value professionals that upskill to advance their careers. It's never too late. Enroll for a self-paced online course to begin upskilling in monitoring, evaluation, accountability and learning, water, sanitation and hygiene, disaster risk reduction and management, food security and nutrition in emergencies, procurement and supply chain management, human nutrition and dietetics, maternal and infant young child nutrition. Apply today to enjoy a 10% discount.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We're just giving a few minutes to other participants to join in. In the meantime, I'm just going to mention a few house rules. So rule number 1 is make good use of the chat section. In case if you want to let us know anything, any comment, kindly reach out to us on the chat. In the meantime, you can be saying hello to us and letting us know where you're joining from, what country you're joining from. House rule number 2 is make good use of the Q&A section as well. Kindly do send us questions on the webinar through the Q&A section and we'll be able to address them. Today's webinar is Understanding Sanitation Marketing in Diverse Environments. This is a free webinar offered by Humanitarian Global, and it's in the topic of water, sanitation, and hygiene, that is WASH. Our key speaker for the day is Douglas Lifede. So as other participants continue to join in, I'll give time to say hello to the big team that is here with us. We have a huge team here from Humanitarian Global. So I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Diana. I am the moderator for this webinar. And in case if you have any questions, you can always chat with me. You can send me a message via chat. With us, we do have Anthony. Anthony, you can say hello to the team.
Thank you so much, Diana, and also to all of the participants who have managed to connect to the session as of now. And looking forward to a great session. My name is Anthony Mukui from Humanitarian Global, the academic support team. In case you have any technical issues, challenges, you can always chat with us on the chat section, and we're going to be there to assist you. So looking forward to a great session, and kind request, continue sharing the link with your colleagues, with your friends, so that they can also join and benefit from these sessions. So thank you once again, and back to you, Diana.
Thank you so much, Anthony. We also have our colleague, Business Development Manager, Ian. Ian, you can say hello to everyone.
Thank you, Diana. Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good morning or afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Ian. I represent the business development team here at Humanitarian Global, and I'm looking forward to a resourceful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ian. With us, I'll just give him a moment to introduce himself. He'll come on later to speak about today's topic. Is our expert for the day, Douglas Lifede. Douglas is a WASH expert as well as a menstrual hygiene management expert. So Douglas, you can say hello. You can introduce yourself to the team. I know a lot of us joining this webinar are joining for the first time, and I've not encountered Douglas before. So Douglas, over to you.
Thank you so much, Diana. My name is Douglas Lifede. I'm looking forward to a very fruitful session. Thank you so much. Looking forward. Thank you. Thank you.
In the interest of time, I will like to ask Douglas to just come on board. So remember, our topic for the day is Understanding Sanitation Market in Diverse Environments. This is a free webinar on WASH, water, sanitation, and hygiene, offered by Humanitarian Global. Douglas, I will welcome you to speak on this topic, and then later on I'll be able to come and talk a little bit more about our WASH programs, as well as who Humanitarian Global is. So for today's webinar, we've sort of switched things up. So we're going to start with Douglas, and then I'll come on later after the Q&A section. Douglas, welcome.
All right. As mentioned before, my name is Douglas Lifede. I'll be taking you through today's session. I'm very happy to meet you today. I welcome you so that we learn together the aspect of marketing Apologies if you'll hear a bit of background noise. There could be cars parking once in a while in my background, but I'll try as much as possible to make this as audible as possible. So today we are going to talk about sanitation marketing in diverse environments. And the reason why I decided to speak about this topic is for WASH experts to be able to discuss business as well, because it goes beyond just providing advice, sanitation advice, and what we do on a daily basis. Some of us would want to venture into WASH as a business, right? And it's important for us to understand the aspect of marketing, which will really go a long way in not only making profit, but also assisting the poor in our communities, right? So my background, if I have to speak to it a bit, is in WASH, like Dan has mentioned, and a lot of experience in sanitation, especially in the for the poor, especially in the informal settlements and the rural setup. So that is what I've been doing for quite some time now. Very interesting career. If you look at my LinkedIn profile, you will see one of my recommenders who has mentioned my pride in dealing with human shit, right? So it's a very it's a field that I really enjoy. So into it, we like to define sanitation marketing, and I got this definition from the organization called Tier Fund. And the definition is sanitation marketing is the application of social and commercial marketing practices to change behavior and to scale up demand and supply for improved sanitation and water supply, particularly amongst the poor, right? So if I can summarize this, it's basically applying the normal marketing approach, the 4 Ps. Product, pricing, promotion, and place, right? Applying those ones in providing sanitation options, especially for the among the poor and those in the village, in the rural setup. The reason why I'm remembering to mention the poor is because those are mostly the target group, given that sanitation marketing targets those who are struggling with sanitation, right? And therefore, the discussion here is usually on how to make sure that the poor have access to sanitation and the tactics, marketing tactics or approaches that will ensure that they have access to the sanitation options. And majorly people talk about pit latrines, etc. So you cannot discuss about sanitation and WASH without having to discuss a bit about CLTS, a community-led total sanitation. So for those who are aware of CLTS, you remember that for CLTS, the community members conduct their own assessment, their own appraisal in order to reach an agreement or a joint conclusion that they are struggling with open defecation, right? And so during this approach, the CLTS approach, you engage the community for them to understand their needs. Of course, by the time you're doing this, you've already done your background with the community as well. And you want them to understand how the impact of open defecation. Remember, open defecation is an accessory to diarrhea diseases, right? And sicknesses and all those sicknesses and worms. So you want the community here to be able to identify the challenges that are brought by open defecation, so that they take an initiative to stop that practice of open defecation. Actually, the aim is to reach open defecation free status, right? And you encourage this through community competitions, right? And monitoring, regular monitoring. We had this conversation last week about CLTS. The people who attended this can remember that if you encourage community competition, then chances are with the competition, the ones that are doing well will be appreciated, and those that are struggling will be assisted in terms of getting them on track, getting them towards open defecation free status. So the CLTS is just one of the ways through which you can create demand. So after this, the community understand, oh, now we need to have pit latrines for us to manage the waste, the human waste or the feces that are within our community, right? So for agents or organizations that are interested, and then this becomes a good platform for them to understand the needs of the community that they are targeting, right? And then think about the approaches, actually help the community think about the approaches. It's based on approaches that they are able to afford as a community, right? What they're able to easily afford, so that they attain the ODF, open defecation free status, right? So coming back to the marketing aspect of sanitation, we are talking about one way just through those approaches, the CLTs, and you're also talking about once you identify that, then you also need to think about how you're able to have enough data for you to support the marketing approaches that you intend to do. Remember, we are talking about options for different communities, sanitation options. And option does not only mean the tangible goods in sanitation, it also means services. So for example, a community where they dig pit latrines, and after they dig, they cover them and dig another one, you could sell to them the idea of emptying the pit latrines, safe emptying of the pit latrines, in the sense that they can still have enough land to continue with other activities. Because if a community digs pit latrines after they fill up, of course there's the impact it has in terms of it is even risky in terms of the community themselves. So unless it's done in a proper way that agrees with the policies, it also becomes risky in terms of utilization of the land, etc. Right? So affirmative research becomes a very important tool here, in the sense that formative research as you might be aware, is an approach, a research approach where you want to understand the needs of a community. You want to understand what are the needs of a community that you are targeting, all right? What are the needs? And mostly you employ approaches or tools such as surveys. You employ focus group discussions, in-depth interviews, in the sense that from those approaches, then you're able to understand this community better, and you're tailoring your marketing mix based on data that you've collected from the community, right? So for formative research, which is very important tool for public health practitioners, you first define the problem. So of course, you've known that, for example, a community has been struggling with sanitation-based diseases, right? So you want to define a problem, and by problem definition, it means you are tailoring your objective towards solving that problem, which is ending sanitation-related diseases, diarrhea, right? And then, of course, while doing this, you're also thinking about other logistics in terms of what for me to be able to actualize, or for me to be able to solve this problem, what do I need? I need human resource. I need money, that is finances. I need the community buy-in. So developing an approach there to be able to address the needs there, just making sure that there is clear preparation. And you have to make sure that you have the right experts available, if it's researchers, if it's a logistics team, if it's data analysts, right? Just make sure that you have all this in place. Study design, of course, you've already thought about what do you want to use. Do you want to use just one tool? Do you want to use several tools and then triangulate the findings, right? You want to use questionnaires? Do you want to use interviews, right? In-depth interviews. So this is where you, depending on the problem and the nature of the people that you are going to deal with, then you decide, you design a tool that is going to help you capture the required information from this community. And then data collection is all about going out to obtain data using the tools that you designed. And then, of course, data analysis is just making sense of the data that you collected. And data reporting is just going back with the relevant stakeholders that you're working with and devising strategies. Of course, for reporting, you've already gotten what you wanted to achieve from the formative research, and now you're sharing it with the strategic teams and the community members, the most influential members of the community, and you're agreeing that this community requires pit latrines, or it requires panels. It requires panels to be able to resolve the challenges that they are experiencing. So that is all about formative research. So for formative research, then you're able now to devise, right? You're able to devise the 4Ps, the market mix 4Ps, in terms of what you want to solve. If it's open defecation, if it's shortage of materials, if it's shortage of labor, this formative research is meant for you to identify all those and start working towards coming up with solutions, right? So data is very critical, and that is what gives you an idea or gives you information on what is the pricing strategy for the product that you want to market for this community, right? What is the pricing? Will this community be able to afford the price? So price is just affordability and willingness to pay for the product that you are thinking about, or for the service that you are thinking about, right? And of course, the product you are talking about, the actual service or tangible product that you want to provide to this community. Items such as water dispenser, washing stations, pit latrine panels. Those are some of the products that we are referring to. In another slide, we'll be able to see some of these, some examples there, right? And then promotion. By promotion, we are talking about how are we going to sell this idea to the community? Do you want to use flyers? Do you want to use advertisements for communities that you think are able to access advertisement materials? But of course, when you're talking about the poor, you're talking about advertisement interventions that are easily accessible. I remember back in the days when in the village, for people who were advertising particular products, they would come to the community with a truck that had a kind of a cinema, right? So they would show a movie, a short movie, and then in the mix of that, they would be advertising certain products. I also remember those days in the village, people could come to the village and perform skits, right? Perform skits in the market, and while they're doing that, they are well branded so that everybody is able to see the message they're trying to convey. So promotion is very important here. And of course, with the advancement of technology, you're looking at the village setup. So it depends on the target market. So if it's young people, of course, you want to look at mixing it with promotion materials that are relatable to the young people, such as the social media, right? But of course, what you're saying is at the end of the day, the approach should be an approach that is going to be impactful to the entire community, but of course, keeping in mind that the target market has different dynamics, and therefore the approaches in terms of promotion should be a target that is capturing the entire population, right? And we're talking about place. Of course, we are talking about, you've already come up with a product or service. Where do people get this item? How is the supply chain of this item or service, right? Is it easily accessible? Is it available in the market? So that is what place will be all about, okay? So when you refer to price, like I mentioned before, pricing is a huge determinant in terms of the product or the service that you're marketing, right? So pricing speaks to affordability and willingness to pay, right? So from your formative research, you want to find out if this community is going to afford the product that you intend to offer them, right? And by affordability, you're talking about thinking about even who's the decision maker in the family, right? If you're going to talk to the community, will you be required to only speak to the dad in the house? Will you be required to only speak to the moms in the house? Or will you be required to speak to both of them as a family? That is the essence of the pricing aspect of it. And so when you look at affordability, are they able to pay for the service? Or are there other subsidies that you put in place just to make sure that the community here is able to afford the service or the product that is being marketed? And of course, you're talking about willingness to pay. This is a situation where people have money, but it is more in terms of what motivates them to spend the money, all right? What motivates them to spend the money? Because there are people who are willing to spend on an expensive product or service just because they feel like that offers quality. And there are those who would want to spend on a cheaper or a more affordable quality, a cheaper or a more affordable service or product, all right? So from your research, you should be able to find out, for example, in this community, how many people own television, how many people here are the kind of occupation that this community mostly, how many people are teachers, for example, how many here are drivers, or how many people here in this community are employed, unemployed. Those kind of questions are going to provide a background in terms of, are these people able to afford the services or the product, all right? And so in this slide, you can see that willingness to pay is also, the motivation is, if people have in the previous times received subsidies, all right, they might not be willing to pay for a service that you are offering straight away, because they have they anticipate that you are also coming to talk to them with subsidies, right? So in the sense that if a previous agent has come here and they have offered products are very affordable at a subsidized price, then they'll expect the same, and therefore their willingness to pay is going to be a bit lower, and therefore it requires further interventions in terms of understanding the impact of the subsidies even, right? On another slide, we will be looking at on other aspects of 4Ps, and you will see that there are also partnerships there. So that is why you think about partnerships, especially for agents that have already been here and have offered subsidies. Okay, so these are just examples of the 4Ps that we've mentioned, right? I've already mentioned this. So we're talking about sanitation products, sanitation promotion, which is the 4Ps: product, promotion, place, and price. So when you talk about sanitation products, we're talking about things such as slabs, hand washing station. We are talking about services such as solid waste collection, construction of biogas digesters. I'm sure from this team, we have people who are interested in, or who are already doing this kind of business. And therefore it becomes very important for us. This webinar becomes very important for us and our businesses. Sanitation promotion, you already talked about this, things such as posters, leaflets, television, street theater, skits, already mentioned this, door-to-door campaigns, already mentioned to this, right? I have in the past done sales and marketing for container-based sanitation toilets. And the approach was door to door. So we would knock each door and present to them the features and the benefit of the container-based sanitation toilets. And it really worked because for the door-to-door approach, it's a first-hand kind of conversation. And you're meeting the owners of the house and you're pitching to them about the product and they're asking questions and you're answering and you even decide to give them what do we call it? I'm looking for a word, but just discount. I mean, if it's a product, you're talking about discount, but for service, you're talking about a promotion period. So we would give promotion periods to people to the early adapters, right? Free usage for 1 month, right? And once people got tied to the product, they wouldn't want to let it go. So that is the approach that we are using there in terms of promoting the product. Sanitation place, of course, I already talked about this. It's mostly the supply chain bit of it. Where are these products manufactured? Are they distributed? For service providers, how can they be found, right? Are the services mobile, right? Such that anybody can find them whenever they want to. And then sanitation price, you're talking about demand and supply. Of course, for a business person, they want to maximize on profit. This is the supplier. And the other person, who is the buyer, they want to minimize on the price that they are spending on a product. So the point of equilibrium is obviously the most ideal point. But of course, it's not easy to reach at this point of equilibrium for those people who have done business, right? So each person is pulling the string towards their end, the supplier as well as the buyer. Each person has an inverse. So each person has a different approach to it. And therefore, the equilibrium is not always easy to meet. So like I mentioned before, the 4 P's, there are other P's when you're doing sanitation marketing, which is policy. So when you're doing this, you have to understand the underlying frameworks that have been set. For example, if you're thinking about entering into a business of digging pit latrines, for example, that's just an example. You have to understand the policies surrounding pit latrines. Different countries have different policies surrounding this. For example, the depth of the pit latrine, the width of the pit latrine. So you have to understand the policies surrounding the sanitation business or service that you want to render. And then partnerships. Partnerships very important because now when you're working with partners, with NGOs, CBOs, and other businesses, you're able to think about, for example, an NGO that has been here already and they have written a success story about the services and products that they have rendered. That could be a form of partnerships, right? And then just think about what motivates them to offer the service. And you can build on their motivation for you to be able to succeed in offering the product and service to the target community. With that, we come to the end of this webinar at exactly 11:40. Thank you so much. I welcome questions. I'm looking at the chat section. I can see a question there, and somebody has asked, what are the common factors that affect sustainability of CLTS? From my experience, I know I've talked a lot, but I would like to hear some of the experiences from the team here. Maybe you can just type it on the chat box so that we understand what are your experiences in terms of sustainability of CLTS? What are factors that affect sustainability? I don't know, Diana, if you're able to, if somebody raises their hand, if you're able to allow them audio.
Yes, I am. So we do have Renee and Yusuf Ali who've raised their hands. Anyone else who wishes to talk at this point, kindly raise your hand. I'll allow you to speak. So Renee, unmute yourself. You can ask your question, who will be followed by Yusuf Ali, and then Yimer and Melik. Okay, Melik, yes, go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Diana, and your team, Humanitarian Global. Thank you so much for offering for us this platform. And also give a round of applause to our presenter, Douglas Lifede. Yeah. I'm quite interested into the approaches of the CLTS that you were talking about before. Yeah, I think it differs from context to context when it comes to sustainability, I believe. Like for us in South Sudan, you find, let me say generally, the community that is so much used to tangible humanitarian assistance, they find it very hard to say from tangible service delivery to advocacy kind of services. So when you look at CLTS, it is like in that transition. So it's very hard when you leave the community, it's very hard for them to continue with such kind of services. So I don't know what best we can do in order to increase the sustainability of CLTS. Maybe after a project is done, and then how do we seek to maintain such kind of engagement without the actors involving in, but the community doing it themselves. Thank you, and over to you, Diana.
Thank you so much. Maybe Douglas, you have something to add on to that?
Yes, I can see a couple of comments here, especially on the CLTS approach, which I'm very happy to see. Shows that our participants here are very keen. So really for sanitation, for CLTS, like you said, it's contextual, right? And for sustainability, last week we discussed, and I remember there are so very good answers here, and one of them included but not limited to just make one participant said that in the experience, CLTS has worked because they have always ensured there is a committee that is left behind to continue with where the agents have left, right? So it is contextual, and it depends with the kind of community that you are dealing with. Some communities are more enthusiastic than others, okay? And one person also said that it also involves investing in the youth and the school children, because once you invest in that age bracket, you have continuity. You have continuity, right? Which is, of course, sustainability. School children are good agents of change. They speak about the interesting things that they participated in to their friends and anybody else, right? So somebody said investing in youth and children. And another person said, CLTS, for it to be sustainable, you want to really think about monitoring and how do we call it? Monitoring the progress, regular monitoring of the progress and evaluating the progress as well, right? Not just leaving it to the community to continue, right? And I can see somebody else here saying, as you said, investing in youth and children in school is the best support. Thank you so much for supporting that. So regular monitoring, because when you talk about CLTS, most people think that just because we have empowered the community, then we need to leave them to continue with the interventions that we've been able to identify, but it requires a bit more than that. And one way for people who are very blessed is also identifying other stakeholders and partners who can continue with the program that you've set in the communities, right? For example, I remember when I started working in the sanitation sector, it was very expensive for people to acquire the product that we were providing. And so the organization that I was working with would partner with loan providers, right? Loan providers who would really finance these sanitation products, and therefore it's context specific, but really what we need to make sure during the CLTS. Of course, CLTS is a different conversation altogether, very broad conversation. It's just to make sure that stakeholder engagement is also at very top, at the very best, because stakeholder engagement it's the people who you engage that are going to assist and in making sure that you've achieved what you intended to achieve with the target community, right? So I'll say again, it's context specific, and it really depends on the community that you're working with, the type of leadership that is in that community, all right? If there have been subsidies in that community before, all right? So if there have been subsidies and free goods before, of course, that means you have to work a lot to make sure that people are not really just waiting until the other subsidy comes around for them to use. So yeah, that is what I'll say about the sustainability of CLTS really. I am just looking at the comments again. I don't know if Diana, is there somebody else who was supposed to speak after Malik?
Yes, Moses Musa, you can ask your question.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning to you, Moses.
Yeah, I'm calling from Sierra Leone, or listening from you from Sierra Leone. Yeah, so say something in connection to the sanitation marketing, which you stated on your topic, because we are also implementing a program on WASH. I'm a sanitation officer for an NGO, which is a Family Homes Movement. We are funded by UNICEF.
Sorry, Moses, we're not able to hear you. You're breaking a little bit.
Yeah, I think I'm having problem with the network. I don't know. I'm having problem with the network here.
Oh, okay. So in this case, I believe you can put your question in the chat section and we'll be able to address it, or in the Q&A question, okay? At this point, I'd like to invite Dube. Dube, if you can hear us. Yes, Dube. Hello, Dube, welcome. Kindly ask your question or your comment.
Yes, can you hear me?
Very clearly.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, I think my interest basically in this presentation is issues around theory. What theoretical frameworks guides this research in order to have really maximum impact in changing people's behaviors at the end of the day? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I will hand over to our expert, Douglas. Douglas?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. These are questions that for researchers in the house, would you mind shedding some light on this question here, the theoretical framework for research? Anyone on the team? Anyone on the team here?
Sorry, I think I missed your question, Douglas.
Yeah, I'm just wondering on the team here if we have research experts who can assist in expounding on this question by Dube in terms of the theoretical framework. Any research expert in the room? We
do have a couple. We do have Stephen. We do have Stephen, who's an M&E expert. We do have a couple. So if you're also interested in chiming into this question by Dube, kindly do raise your hand and I'll allow you to speak.
I'll try to answer to the best of my knowledge. I'll have to confess that I'm not really an expert in research, right? Yeah.
It is okay. Actually, Stephen has raised his hand. Let me allow Stephen to talk. Stephen, if you can come on board and chime in before Douglas. Stephen, can you hear us? You can unmute yourself.
Is that okay?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Now you can hear me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, like on the issue of the, like what I typed in the text, the issue of the monitoring is actually vital in almost everything that you do, will that be wash, or maybe you're doing shelter or anything like that. And the first thing is that, like I stated, it is all about when you set the project, because you have to have those incorporated in even the project document that you have presented to your donors or something like that. So all of the issue is that be it sanitation, be it wash, be it health, be it whatever, then it has to start with the planning, whereby you have all those steps, whereby even when you don't do the monitoring, there is this tool for rapid monitoring, the one that you can be able to use within all the stages of the project. Yeah, so that is what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you so much to that. Douglas, maybe you can close off this question.
Yeah, thank you. So like I said, for the formative research, for it to stick within the right boundaries, it goes. But of course, for the theoretical framework, it's basically talking about why you want to do the research. So it boils back to ensuring that you have adequate information in terms of the target community that you want to, the target community, right? So what I'm trying to say is that even in terms of definition of your research, you must have spent quite a lot of time just trying to analyze the target community and their needs, right? And get in-depth understanding of the challenges and the needs through different forums or through different literature, right? So this one will give you a clear understanding the challenges and the needs of your target community, right? So like Moses has said, it goes back to just your preparation in terms of what you want to achieve, right? And it goes to enough literature and enough background that will guide your research, in the sense that as you generate your theoretical framework, you are going to be within what you want to achieve through the research. But Dube, if you have 1 second, you can also share with us if you have any background knowledge there in terms of your experience, so that the rest can also understand from your context.
Why I'm interested in issues of theory is that I'm a journalist by profession, and I'm also a lecturer, and I'm particularly interested in I teach and supervise research. It's actually my main subject. And one of the things that I have discovered is that most of these community interventions, they are not backed by theories, like, especially the diffusion of innovation, for example, how this theory can actually inform programming so that there is a maximum impact. And more so, it makes life very easy in terms of monitoring and evaluating the projects, because most of the projects, they are just run without that backing of theory. And of course, we know that there's a lot of theories nowadays of technological aided models and so on. But the lack of theory actually, from my experience, is that it minimizes the impact, and programs are run for the sake of running. And at the end of the day, we don't really get that element of, let's say, behavior change, and also the effect on what we really want to do. That's my experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dube. Thank you so much. Over to you, Diana.
Thank you so much, Douglas. I do have a couple of questions here. So someone did ask 2 questions. I'll just read them out for you, and then you can address them. And I do apologize to our participants. I see now it's 12:01. I request that we do have 9 extra minutes. We end this session at 12:10. So the first question is, what factors contribute to the sustainability of CLTS outcomes? And that is followed by, are there challenges to sustaining CLTS outcomes? Douglas, maybe you can answer this question, and then I'll be able to ask 2 more questions before we close.
Yeah, Diana, those are good questions that are really similar to the one that I answered before. I'm not sure if they asked after I answered or before I answered that, especially on the sustainability bit. But just to summarize, is we talked about, and somebody has already indicated here on the chat about stakeholder clearly mapped out stakeholder engagement. That is what I mentioned, making sure that your stakeholders are clearly mapped. And I gave a precaution that it's context specific. Communities that have enthusiastic leaders tend to be more adaptive to ideas, right? And also I talked about involving children and youth. And I also talked about having a committee, a steering committee that will continue pushing the agenda. that you started with the CLTS. And I also talked about continuous monitoring and evaluation. And I also talked about building partnerships, and partners will assist in moving the agenda, or pushing the agenda that has been identified during the CLTS, right? So that is what I answered before. Maybe I'm not sure if I'm clear there. But Diana, from what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing on the chat, is that maybe we need to have a bit more session on those approaches, especially the CLTS, for those people who are will or are undertaking the WASH program. Continue talking about the CLTS there and all those other approaches. When I talk about all those, just talk about the approaches for the participants, for them to really have a grasp of what really are the needs there and what are the challenges. So I'm really I'll really be happy if guys here can join the course, so that we study this together.
Thank you, Douglas. And it's good that you've mentioned the courses, because we do have a course starting today. Actually, the orientation is today, but you're welcome to join in. So the mode of this course, so Humanitarian Global does courses online, self-paced in different areas such as WASH, water, sanitation, hygiene. Something else we do is in meal, monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning. We also do touch on procurement as well. I've seen there's someone who mentioned they're interested in a course in procurement. So we have introduced something else on top of already the self-paced course that we have, which is the online courses that we do have. And we do have online courses where you're able to interact virtually with your trainer. You're able to have the trainer take you through the topics and the modules as well. So it does feel like being in a class. Only difference is it is virtually. So with that said, we do have a class that is starting today, as I've talked about, on menstrual hygiene management. I'm going to share my screen on that. So it does also touch on CLTS, it touches on WASH, it touches on emergency in WASH. And we do welcome you to register for this course. As I've talked about, this course actually does start, the orientation does start today. So we are really encouraging you to join it. And it's a first come, first serve course. And we do take in a number of 10 participants. And currently we are at 7 participants. So we are looking just to fill 3 slots, and we do want you to join us today. We do want you to register today. So in order to register, I've been able to share with you a link via chat. And these are the kind of modules you will be covering. So you'll cover 3 main modules: breaking the silence on menstruation, safe and hygienic management of menstruation, as well as management of used menstrual products. So this is for anyone in the humanitarian field, in the development field, working in an NGO, or looking even to transition your career into humanitarian work or into WASH. So some of the things that you can expect to acquire as you undertake this course is an understanding of the challenges faced by women and girls regarding menstrual hygiene, as well as their implications on health, education, and well-being. You will be able to also explore cultural and economical impacts of inadequate menstrual hygiene management, which is very important, especially when it comes to developing countries, when it comes to a lot of sub-Saharan countries which do face this issue. You will be able to see how the connections between menstrual hygiene management and the SDGs come about. And this is particularly SDG goal number 3, which is on good health and well-being, goal number 4, which is on quality education, goal number 5 on gender equality, as well as goal number 6 on clean water and sanitation. Something else actually I would like to add on to this is an all-encompassing goal that you'll be covering is responsible consumption and production, which falls under goal number 12. At the end of this course, this online course, which takes 4 weeks to be exact, you'll be able to develop practical strategies and action plans for promoting safe and hygienic menstrual practices within various contexts. So in this context, we're looking at different environments. We're going to be looking at different case studies. We're going to be looking at how menstrual hygiene management does affect different cultures, how it's practiced in different cultures as well. So like I mentioned, you're going to be covering 3 main modules within these 4 weeks. You're going to be doing breaking the silence on menstruation, which, as I've talked about, will cover misconception, myths, taboos as well. You'll talk about safe, hygienic management of menstruation as well. And then finally, you'll be able to do safe management of used menstrual products. To register for this course, kindly click on the link that I've shared with you via chat. And then once you've clicked on the link, come as I'm demonstrating on my screen. At the bottom of that screen, click on apply now, which will then take you to a page where we request you to fill in your details, a registration form that we request you to fill your name, email, phone number, country, the program, in this case, menstrual hygiene management, and the preferred start date. You can put any start date, because if we don't take you for this cohort, we'll take you for the next cohort. As I mentioned, it's first come, first served, and we only take 10 participants at a time because it's very engaging. You're able to engage with a trainer one-on-one. You're able to undertake different case studies, different exercises. So that's the reason why we do take a small number at a time. So once you've submitted your registration form, as I'm demonstrating on the screen, you'll then will then reach out to you and maybe ask for more details or give you more information on the course. If you're unable to do this, you can simply come to our website here, the same link that I've shared. At the very top, you can always request a call back, and we are able to do that. Or you can even contact us via email. So when you click on contact us, you're able to send us an email, and we'll be able to reach out to you. I've seen that a number of our participants have been able to show interest and share their details via chat. So we've been able to pick up those details, and we'll be able to reach out to you. I'm currently looking at the chat section just to see if everyone is at par with me. Okay, thank you so much, Peter. Thank you so much, everyone, for their comments. I can see them. Thank you for those who've already clicked on this link. Thank you, I do appreciate you. We will be sharing the presentation for this webinar as well as the recordings for this webinar. For those questions that we've not been able to answer today, we're going to put them in our community forum, which is hosted on Discord. I have shared the link as well with you. So do register on Discord. It's free of charge. We do not charge anyone to register to join our community forum. And on our community forum, you get to engage with experts such as Douglas, and also other experts in other fields such as monitoring and evaluation, such as procurement, or even disaster risk reduction management. So we do cover a variety, a wide range of topics, and you can be able to engage with us on the community forum, where we will also be sharing the recording for this webinar as well as the presentation. I believe that brings us to the end of today's session. I would like to start off by thanking our participants. You've been very patient with us. You've been able to sit through even as we've taken 13 minutes of your time. So thank you so much. I do appreciate you. I do appreciate all those who are able to engage with us and ask questions, as well as comment on the webinar, as well as share their details on the webinar, on the chat section as well. We do really appreciate you for joining. I would like to thank our experts expert for the day, Douglas Lifede. Thank you so much. We've been able to learn a lot on not just WASH, but on CLTS as well. So we do appreciate you. Thank you so much. I would like to thank the entire Humanitarian Global team for making this webinar possible, for having hosted and facilitated this webinar. We do say thank you so much. And with that, until next time, I bid you farewell. Goodbye.
My name is Adam Mohammed. I am a humanitarian person and a farmer at the same time. I am also a Nigerian. My journey as a humanitarian started sometimes around 2016 in the NYSC camp. You know, when you finish your degree program, you need to go for a year training. So in Nigeria, we call it NYSC, National Youth Service Corps. So while at the camp, I have this staff of CUSO International. CUSO International actually is a Canadian humanitarian organization that is working towards ensuring no poverty and no equality among the community in all. So they approached the serving corps members at the camp, telling them to come and volunteer with the organization in providing services in certain communities that they will be posted to. At first, I wasn't interested because I am a farmer. Then I realized that there are several areas where I can render my service to. I can also render my service to youths, encouraging them to have a sustainable means of livelihood in agriculture. There and then, I key in, I applied, I became a volunteer. So after volunteering with CUSO International, I then had the interest of working as a humanitarian person. I worked with CUSO International for a year, and thereafter I moved for my second degree studies, Masters in Agricultural Economics at Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. So because of the distance of the place I was rendering the humanitarian service and the place I'm studying, I had to then resign from that particular role. Thereafter, while I was working, I was studying with at Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. Then I also had the opportunity to also volunteer with Action Against Hunger in Borno State. Because of the insurgency, the people in the IDP camp needed humanitarian service. Then I said to myself, I would volunteer to provide that service. After working with Action Against Hunger, thereafter I worked as a farm manager with Agro News Nigeria, and then here I am today working with FX Commodities Exchange, impacting life and providing humanitarian services to the humanity. While volunteering with CUSO International and Action Against Hunger, Feed the Future and all that on other short projects, I then developed that inherent, will I say, likeness of providing humanitarian services to the entire humanity. Then one day I was sitting on my laptop, checking through online. Then I decided, I said, no, I need to look at some kind of humanitarian courses that I would attend so I can enhance my skills and my ability to deliver more in the humanitarian sector. So I went online and then I was searching there and then. I came across Humanitarian Global, and then immediately I signed up. I checked the programs that they have. I looked at one particular program that attracted my attention, which is monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning, MEAL in short. So I then applied for MEAL program. So generally for MEAL program, I will tell you that it has been superb. Honestly, it has been very, very superb. If there is any word that's higher than that, I will use that. Then for what I have learned, wow, what I have learned actually is too enormous. It's not something I can actually share with you today or the whole of my life. But the things I can then remember that I can share with you is that for MEAL, in short, is part of our lives. In everything you do, you have to monitor, you have to evaluate, you have to account, and you have to learn in everything that you do. If you don't learn, like the famous saying, they say, the day you stop learning, that is the day you start dying. So actually, MEAL program entails everything that one needs in life. So I have learned a lot. Part of the learning from the program has assisted me in my job today as a humanitarian person. In everything that we do, from the inception of any project, I get involved and then I apply all the learnings that I have there to assist in the development of the basis of the project, how to monitor it, how to evaluate the project, how to get the indicators that will be used to evaluate the project, and at the end of the day to term it as a success or a failure, and also learn from it and how to also account for that particular project. So the learning from MEAL for me is enormous and is not something that I can share within a short period of time, but I will tell you I have learned a lot. I would actually tell you Humanitarian Global, first of all, have all the skills that it takes for you to enhance your career as a humanitarian, and also they have the most of the best platform for studying that I have seen, because it's more engaging, it's very interacting, and then you get to interact with your peers, share ideas with your peers that are coming from different countries. So you share idea, and then it's more interactive, and then you work on a case study that are very much live case studies that are intriguing, that makes you to think and bring out the some of the suggestive solutions that you may have for certain issues that the communities are being affected of. I think I can remember of one of the virtual case study that should be a case study on Gamba community. So my learning experience with Humanitarian Global have been very good because it's engaging, it's interactive, and then you share idea with your peers that are from different countries. So it gives you that connection, that linkage, and also the expertise in Humanitarian Global, I must say, are very much grounded. So they tend to take you to the detail, and even if you are a starter, you don't have much experience, you need to you will be trained by the granular of humanitarian, and then you get to understand all the terms, all the logics, and everything that is used in humanitarian work to say. When you want to study with Humanitarian Global, one thing you have to have in mind is that Humanitarian Global will give you all it takes for you to study, because they have the flexible studies schedule. Even if you are working, you're being engaged. They also have your peers that you can interact with, and they also have some kind of tech platform that will give you the assistance that you may need at any point in time while studying with Humanitarian Global. You know, there is this misconception about humanitarian. People would think when you are working with any non-governmental organization, NGO, or providing services, then you are a humanitarian. Me, I believe that there are so many humanitarians out there. You yourself, you can be a humanitarian. The only thing you need to do is have others at heart while you do your work. Create impact, you understand? Do things to be remembered for. And you are a humanitarian. Thank you.